Hey, everybody. All right. Well, as you can see by the title, I'm going to try and do a discussion here about, being carnivore and uh, also doing some prepping. And I guess we'll just start off with, what exactly is, is prepping, and what does that word entail? Um, there's been a lot of, there's been tons of movies over the years that talk about the idea of, the end of the world is coming, and when the stuff hits the fan, we're all going to die except for the people that are prepping, and they're living in their basement with tons of bullets and a bunch of food that they've hoarded. Mm, there's truth to that, but I'm not going to go deep into that rabbit hole. Um, but I do want to try and do a discussion about trying to looking at the idea of prepping from a standpoint of saving and putting away food for a rainy day. So why am I doing this? I personally do believe in in the idea of prepping. And maybe one day I'll actually, I'll do a video that maybe goes into, that further if that's something that somebody would be interested in. But I just want to start and just say that where I'm coming at this from is not from the end of the world. I'm coming at this from a much smaller perspective of the end of your job, the end of your finances, the end of no more income. What do you do? Now, I am not going to I'm not going to give you budgeting advice. I'm not going to talk about which bills you should pay and which ones you shouldn't. That's not what this is about. This is just about This is just about food and putting away food for a rainy day. That's really what this is about. Now, I am coming at this because I found out last week. Let's see. No, actually, this is the day before. This is Sunday, the day before Memorial Day. So this was actually about a week and a half ago. I found out that I knew that my job was going to end. Originally, I had heard that it was going to end it was going to come to an end at the end of September, which would have given me a year. But due to budgeting constraints, the job has to actually end sooner. So, excuse me, it's going to come to an end at the end of June. So, that does hurt financially. And I was not prepared for having it come to an end that quickly. I was hoping for a few more months because the month of August would have given me an extra check. It would have given me 5 Fridays in that month. So I was planning on using that to put away because, here in North Carolina, as far as unemployment, you get 12 weeks and then that's it. Now I think most states, if not all of them, have, a very specific cutoff date, which, it is what it is. But I was hoping for a little extra to be able to put aside. I was hoping for, an extra check. So what do you do? What do you do when you know the end is coming? So this is what this is going to be centered around. And I honestly don't know how long this is going to be, but I do want to just try to thoroughly go through a lot of these different ideas and some of these thoughts. Okay. So you have found out that your job's coming to an end, or you're like me and you're doing contract work, or something along the lines that and you know that it's not I mean, it is full-time work, but it comes to an end at a very certain point. So what do you do? I know that most people are living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's just sort of the way it is nowadays. But and for most of us, we are also doing carnivore too, and so we're eating very specific types of food. We're not out buying chips and just tons of the garbage food. We're trying to just stay with meat and fish and dairy, eggs, that kind of thing. So, is there a way to put food away for a rainy day? So again, the idea of prepping is, again, this is just from the food perspective, is you're putting away, food for a rainy day, or when, well, honestly, is if and when society breaks down or things get to a point where, like the dollar just is no longer, it just becomes worthless, or we get to a point where, there could be lockdowns again. And who knows, they may not allow you to go to the store, or, you may only be able to go once a week or maybe every other, who knows? So this is, so I know the long-winded build up here, but here we go. So you go to the store, and like for me, I know I would normally buy, I usually go once a week, and I will go and buy it's a 3-pound package of ground beef. I'll usually buy 2 of those. Then I also buy a 1 pound of ground minced pork, and I put that into the hamburger as well. I'll also buy some pork ribs, just to have something different. Then I'll also maybe get a chuck roast. It's not a huge one. It's usually maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 pounds. And depending on whatever's there, it's probably going to end up being boneless, but that's fine. I don't have enough for, any kind of like real steak or anything like that. Just because at this point they're like $20. And it's just, I don't know, to me, it's just not worth it. And then I will go and buy eggs. Let's see, the Walmart near me has 18 count of eggs for like around no more than $3. So $2.50 maybe. I don't have if I can find it, I'll put the amount up on the screen, but the amount doesn't really, is not important. It's just, I'm just showing you the things that I'm getting. So that's just enough usually to get me through the week. But if I want to start being prepared for another week, or, recently we had a storm come through here, and for me, the power was out for a few hours, but like where my brother lives, they were out for a day and a half. So almost everything in his refrigerator was, became worthless, because, a refrigerator is only going to last for a few hours. The freezer could last longer if you don't open it, but if that's where all your food is, you're going to open it and go in there anyway. So, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just talking about just preparing in general. We can go into scenarios in another video again if that's something you're interested in. So I'm going to go and buy, what I usually do is I will go and buy one extra, right? So if I'm buying 2 things of ground beef, and then, so that's 6 pounds, and then I'm buying 2 packages of pork, those are 1 pound each. I'm going to go and buy 1 extra. And usually what ends up happening is those extras will just get frozen. They won't get cooked. They just get frozen and put away. And I'm going to do my best not to touch those. I'm going to go through the 6 pounds that I already have of the ground beef and the 2 pounds of the pork, and then all the other things that I mentioned, and I am going to eat those throughout the week. And then on Friday, I'm going to go back, and again, I will buy the same things, the 2 packages of the 3 pound, the pork, but then I will also buy 1 extra. So do you see kind of where things are going? Is you're buying all the food that you would normally buy, right? And then if you're able to, because I'm not saying, pull money from bills and stuff like that. That's not what this is about. This is only if you have extra, buy just a little more and do your best not to consume it if you can. Same with chicken. So usually I will go and the store that I go to, Ingles, usually has a whole chicken. I don't know. It's 4 pounds, maybe 4.5 pounds. I'm not sure. They're usually about $10. So if I do get one, I'll usually buy 2, and I will just freeze those. And, as I'm getting to near the end of my food, I will pull that out the day before, let it start defrosting, and then cook it the next day. So for that, I will buy my 2, or if I only have enough, if I'm only planning on just buying just 1, then I will, if I have the extra, buy a second and put it away. Now, the other thing that you want to start learning. Oh, okay. So hold on. Before I go to that thought, let me just finish up. So now let's look at canned food. So, tuna, there's chicken, there is beef, there's a lot of different things, that are canned that, for the most part, if you doctor it up and add some stuff to it, it's actually pretty good. It's also a filler, right? So if you're stuck, if you get to the point where, the amount of food that you have is limited, at least it's something. Now, I realize it has preservatives and a lot of different things, that are in there that allow you to keep that for a very long period of time, but at least it's going to be a lot better than some of the other things that are out there. So, spam, again, I realize not a lot of people are thrilled about that idea. I know people in Hawaii love it because, that's just part of their staple because of World War II. But, you also have sardines. There's a lot of different things that are out there that, and I'm not trying to say that people are food snob, but, sometimes people just kind of turn their nose up at it because it's just, oh, sardines, oh my gosh. Or, they maybe tried Spam when they were younger. They didn't like it and, just whatever. I don't know. I love it grilled. I love it chopped up, grilled, and thrown in with eggs. Anyway, that's just me. And I know some people, again, like potted meat or, some of the sausages. Again, I realize that some of that stuff is just kind of icky, yucky, but when you get to the point where you barely have anything, or it's either something versus nothing. I would rather have the something. At least you get it on your stomach and you're doing okay, because if nothing else, you're at least eating, right? So again, not pointing fingers at people who spam. That's not what this is. I'm just giving you just ideas. Now there's also things like jerky. I do realize that jerky is very expensive. I know that there are ways of making your own. I've seen videos on YouTube where people will go and either get a dehydrator, or they will go and they will take a steak, cut it into very thin strips, put it in the oven, turn the oven on, but put it to the lowest of the lowest setting that you can. And I think you just stick it in there for a few hours, and it will eventually just sort of dry itself out and jerky. That is something to think about. Again, looking at some of the different ones that they have on Amazon and, even in the store. I mean, jerky is just expensive. But at least if you do it at home, that it's just meat, right? There's no other, the preservatives and stuff like that. It's just the meat. So that is an option. Milk. Now, years ago, I did try freezing a gallon of milk, but for whatever reason, I tried it a couple times when I would, allow it to start thawing, and putting it in the refrigerator to start thawing. The middle of it was still very frozen. Just a huge chunk, and even several days would go by, and it just never thawed. I don't, there must be better ways of doing it, but it just never worked for me. Is there an alternative? Yes, there is. Powdered milk. These are usually going to be in the the cooking aisle, the spices aisle. I think that's where I remember seeing it years ago. In Walmart. It comes in packages. You can usually make, like the ones that they have at Walmart now, it's an envelope and it makes a quart. So, if you like milk, need it, whatever, that is an alternative. And that stuff will store for a very long time. You can buy it online, and hopefully, if I'm doing this right, I'm going to be putting, pictures up of different things. But you can buy the stuff online. Like I said, you can go into you can pretty much go into any Walmart and buy them there. Most probably grocery stores will have them too, but they will probably be in smaller amounts, but at least the one at Walmart, definitely has a lot more. So egg. So this one, I saw this years ago, and I liked the idea, and we actually tried it, and it works. So this picture that you're looking at here is of a silicone cupcake mold. So what you do is you're going to take, you got to do this, one at a time, or, you could do two. It's up to you. Depending on the size of the mold that you get, what we'll do is we'll crack the egg into a bowl, mix it, we'll beat it, pour it into the mold, do all, I think there's 12 in there. Then they have some that are smaller, but we just do, I think, the one that's 12, and then put it into the freezer for about 3 hours. Let it completely freeze. All right. And then when it's done, then you take them out, you put them into like a Ziploc freezer bag, and then put them back in the freezer. Depending on, how many eggs that you eat at a time, usually what we will do is we'll usually put 3 into a freezer bag and then put them back in. And then when it comes time, to eat them, pull them out the day before, just make sure that they're still sealed. And, if you're not sure, you could always put it into a bowl and then put it into the fridge, but let it completely thaw. And then now you have eggs, right? Now all you got to do is just pour it into your pan and cook. But at least that way, you could go and buy 2 18 counts of egg, and within a day, you could have all 36 of those eggs frozen. It's just a thought, but it works. And again, if you ever get to a point where financially you're just not able to go and buy, eggs right now, guess what? You've got some frozen. I don't know if any of you have maybe even been looking at some of the things that are going on in New York right now. I saw the other day, there's a guy on YouTube that I watch, I think the name is Cash Jordan, and he's been showing pictures of, not only store looting, but, is also talking about the fact that like a gallon of milk is like $7 there. The store over by me is about 3.5, pushing 4. So we may not be there right now, but it's getting close. But if you go and spend that much at Walmart to buy the powdered milk, you're probably going to get 2 or 3 times as much as that gallon. It's just in a powdered form. You just have to add water, and then within a couple of hours, once it gets cool, then you've got milk to drink. If it's something you need to cook with right away, then it doesn't matter what the temperature is because it's just going to get cooked anyway. So again, something to think about. So one thing that I wanted to mention cheese, same thing. Buy shredded cheese or buy a block, shred it yourself, put it in the freezer. Now, again, most of this is either going to be stuff in the freezer or things that are in a can that you can just put away for a long time. Again, the idea is things in the fridge will go bad after a few days. Things in the freezer will, after, some amount of time, make it freezer burn. If it's not wrapped correctly, or, it's going to start, getting sort of crystallized on the outside. So kind of like, I don't want to eat that. But, it's still fine. It's still fine. Now, keep an eye on your dates. So here is where, some of the things you learn in prepping are going to come into play. One thing you learn when you go and start looking into prepping, and you start buying the cans and you start buying a lot of different things, is you're going to write the date that you purchased the stuff somewhere on the can or on the package. That way you have an idea of, when you put it in, how long it's been there, and if it's something that could eventually, go bad, at least you have an idea of, what the time span has been. Most cans of, like tuna and chicken and different things like that, I think are several years. So, you could buy it today and certainly eat it within a year, if not a year and a half or 2. As long as a can doesn't pop, or, it's been opened or broken, or now if you, my understanding is, like with dented containers, cans, stuff like that, I don't think they're bad per se, but you probably don't want to leave them as long. That's just me, and I'm not sure if that's correct, but something to think about too. Now, again, like I said, I'm coming at this from a, financial perspective. So why do I do? So what is? How should? So I guess okay. So the question is now, how should I start? So Jeremy, some of the things that you've said have made sense. What's the first thing that I should do? First and foremost, do not go to the store and panic buy. If you ever see videos of people in areas where there's, tornadoes or hurricanes or different things like that, and I hate to say this, but it is true. A lot of times what you end up seeing is people running to the store and buying gallons of water and bread. It's weird. It really is. You go to you see video of the store and that's what's gone. People have 3, 4, 5 of the big packages of water and a ton of bread, but it's like I always, I'm always saying, well, what are you going to use the bread with? Yes, I realize that they probably have, peanut butter or some sort of meat or something like that. That's probably also in the also in the cart, but you don't see it. But it's just funny to think, well, you're buying the bread, or you're buying the water. You may be buying milk, but if you buy milk, what are you using with the milk? What are you using the milk for? Cereal? Do you have cereal? Anyway. Don't go out and panic buy. Sit down and think about and write up everything that you buy, all the food that you buy on a regular basis. And don't overthink it. If you look, if you're able to buy ribeye steak or Wagyu, good on you, write it down. Okay? You want to be able to see how much you're buying and then how much extra that you can get. So keep that in mind. So again, like I was saying, go and buy all the things that you would normally buy. And if you can, +1. Okay? 1 extra. And like I said, date everything. So if you go and take, sometimes what I do is, I'll go to the store, I'll buy the food. The next day I'll start preparing food. The ground beef I'll throw into a Dutch oven and I'll let that go for, 25, 30 minutes, stirring it all the time. And, and then once it's done, put it away. I usually get 3 containers. And so I will usually keep one in the fridge and then freeze 2. So for the extra stuff, I will just go and freeze. I'll wrap it up in, wrap the outside in foil. So at least I have something to write on. And then I'm going to write the date that I bought it. And luckily for me, years ago, I bought just a freezer. So I will usually take and put all the stuff that I'm trying to keep extra. I'll put it on the bottom and date it, let it all freeze. And then I can start stacking stuff on top of it. Now I know a lot of times with especially with carnivore people, we'll talk about planning out what you're going to eat. If you ever get to the point where this is starting to become a reality for you, now would be a good time if you haven't done this before. Because you really want to make sure that you know what you're going to eat, that week, so that you can make sure that you are pulling out the correct amount of food, because you don't want it to thaw and then sit in the fridge, and then either you forget to cook it, or you do cook it and then it's been there for a long time and maybe you've forgotten about it, or something like that, and then it goes bad and you have to throw it out. This is kind of when food becomes a commodity, and you really want to make sure that you don't overspend and you don't throw things out. And if you also find that your portions sizes are starting to lessen, you really want to make sure that you're going to eat all, if you're the type of person like me who cleans their plate, but at the same time, you're not eating as much. You just want to make sure that you're going to cook as much as you're going to eat. And if it's not like a whole steak, then, and you know that you only going to have steak once a week, then maybe what you ought to do is cut it as soon as you buy it, and then freeze it in 2 pieces. And then when it comes time, you take out the one, you eat it, and then at least you know that the next time you have one in, 3 or 4 days, 5 days, a week, next, whatever, then you can pull out the other piece. So again, just something to think about. Also, now, folks, keep in mind that, I have no idea, like what your income is. I know that for me, my income in about 5 weeks is going to go down to, hopefully, if I make the top level for North Carolina, it's going to be $350 a week for 12 weeks. So for the next 5 weeks, I think that's what I have, I really have to get back on track with intermittent fasting, because there's not going to be any way that I'm going to be able to consume the amount of food that I have. I'm not saying I'm eating a lot. I'm not saying that I'm eating more than I should, but with the amount of food that I need to start saving and trying to make it stretch, this is where intermittent fasting for me is going to come into play a lot more. It's going to be a lot more important. And the last thing, boy, I've been talking for 35 minutes almost. And the last thing, this is going to be one that you really need to think about. For me, I have no problems with this. For some people, now, buy enough food for you and your entire family, +1. Now, does that mean that you must share? No. Should you? Yeah. Yeah. You can call it karma, you can call it whatever you want. For me, my family comes first. I mean, at this point, my family really does consist of, my mom, my niece and nephew, who now, since they're not homeschooling here, I see them once a week, but I will make sure that when they are here, maybe a couple times a week, I will make sure that if they're here for dinner, that they will have food. My mom will usually buy for them, but if she's not able to, then whatever I have, I will offer to them. I will give to them. Now, if they bring somebody over, I will feed that person too. you know, that's just, you know, that's just who I am. That's just the way, it's just the way I've been programmed, man. I do my best to be a gracious host, but also I will do my best to reach out to somebody if I am able to and give them what I can. Now, if I tried to give them the shirt off my back, it's probably going to end up being a dress because, you know, my shirts are huge. But if I had to, I would. But anyway, buy for you and your family +1. So just think about that. I realize that most people who are probably watching this agree, but you know, there are some people that just maybe are not able to, maybe don't want to. That's totally up to you. You know, I'm not going to ding you for not. It's all right. Anyway, what do you think about this, folks? You know, am I completely off my rocker? Yeah, I don't think so. But you know, the voices in my head are telling me to do this, so it's important to make sure that you're able to feed yourself, feed your family, even when your income is little or less. You know, I've never done food stamps or whatever the current term is for it. Will I? Yeah, I'm gonna when my job is over and I start drawing unemployment, I'm gonna go and sign up for that. You know, if I'm able to get a little bit of money off of that to help offset, you know, some of the food costs that I have, I'm going to do that. You know, and you know, I have no problems I have no problem saying that. I probably wouldn't have said that a few years ago, but you know, when you're at a point where, you know, things are low, you have to do everything you can. So, all right, I think I'm going to wrap this up because this has been almost 40 minutes now, and I'm really hoping everybody watches this. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope you've made it all the way through, and I hope you've watched all of this. If you do have any questions, you know, you do want to, you know, try and get a discussion going in the comments. If you'd like me to do, you know, another video on this topic, maybe not necessarily around food, but maybe, you know, just prepping in general, I certainly will. There are tons of videos that are out there. But you know, and I would certainly encourage you to go look some of those up. I don't know of any that I can recommend off the top of my head because I didn't really look into I haven't looked into, you know, just the general topic of prepping. I did try to look for prepping as a carnivore and I didn't see much. So who knows? Maybe I'm starting a trend. I have no idea. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to comment. And I really hope that that you've learned something. Please feel free to subscribe and take care. And I will talk to you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.